Success. All right. Thank you everyone for being here. This is the April 2025 One Art Poetry reading, uh, partly in honor of National Poetry Month, which we celebrate or don't celebrate. It's a free country. It's like Festivus. Um, so with us, we have as our featured poets Kari Gunter-Seymour, Amit Majmudar, and Chad Frame. And we're going to have Kari read for us first. Kari Gunter-Seymour is the Poet Laureate of Ohio and author of three award-winning collections of poetry, including Dirt Songs from Eastover Press just this past year. Also, Alone in the House of My Heart, which is Ohio University Swallow Press. That's from a couple years back, 2022. Kari is the executive director of the Women of Appalachia Project and editor of its anthology series, Women Speak. Also, host of Spoken and Heard, which is a seasonal reading series that features poets, writers, singer-songwriters, many from throughout the country. Kari's work has appeared in a number of journals, including American Book Review, Poet a Day, World Literature Today, and the New York Times. And I'll drop a link in the chat with Kari's website. Kari, thanks so much for being here.
Hey,
Pleasure.
Mark. Hey, thank you. And how wonderful to be here with other esteemed laureates. That makes it so fun. And happy Poetry Month, everyone. I know Mark is right. There's a lot of competition this month for your ears. So I appreciate those of you who have come today to share this afternoon with us. It's very rainy here in southeastern Ohio. We've had flooding, and of course, our dear ones down in Kentucky and Tennessee are having major flooding. So I want to send out some hopefulness to all of them, and I hope you all will keep them in your thoughts as they weather literally yet another series of storms and the devastation that comes with that. That said, I actually wanted to read some upbeat poems today, so I didn't mean to start out on such a negative thought, but we have what we have. So I thought I would start with some get to know me poems I'm going to be reading today from Alone in the House of My Heart, Dirt Songs, and I also have a new manuscript under consideration currently. Tentatively named Look into the Sky to Save Me. So I thought I'd start out with a kind of a silly poem because uh, a lot of you here know me. So you know I'm rural and you know I'm Appalachian and I'm country through and through pretty much. Although I clean up good when I go to the city. So there's that to be said. But I do come from a very rural county in Ohio, and I have the most colorful friends, and they always seem to come through right when I need them. And I think all of us had a really rough February for very many reasons. For some of us, it was, the thing. And for others of us, it was the weather. I personally get bummed out because my skin gets so dry and I'm the whitest I'm ever going to be in February. And it's not a fun thing to be. So I see a lot of you smiling. So you know what I'm talking about. Most of you are women who are doing the smiling. So you know. So this is called From the Next Holler Over, a psalm to smite February's funk. Cloistered in this valley, the icy brown discourse of Monday Creek ruminates the brittle names of undergrowth thatching the banks. Treetops and blackberry canes arch stark naked, shivering, every whip of wind belched up by a sour tongue at 30 degrees or below. Housebound, footfalls of melancholy chivy the winding floorboards, a crescent moon, partially windowed, scythes a battered sky. I finger twist tourniquets of tension, curse the cold and my hang dog bones, toss another log in the wood stove. Open an unexpected text from my favorite neighbor who banjos and bards his way through this life. Woman, if you ain't drunk at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday night, racing a snowstorm with an axe in your hand, fixing to chop up that pin oak that fell across your fence row, what are you even doing? So that's my life, and I claim it to be a very good life and a wonderful life. And the people that I know do seem to come through for me right when I need them the most. So because I'm rural and because I'm Appalachian, I'm a person who cannot wait to get my hands in the soil come spring. Don't even get me started on the seed catalogs because I will spend hours and lots of money on the seed catalogs preparing for the spring plant. So, in order to explain to you why I have this poem, and it's titled Why I Must Plant. I taught myself who I was by sounding out my name. Heard the word for wanting commingling my veins, a salty pulse, letters disguised as life. I was the silk gown my mother would never own, the black dust of coal-fraught mountains, the face of my grandmothers and all who came before staring back from tintypes, the copper taste of feminine rust. My restless breaths shouldered their way, history's finger to its lips, impatient with my niggling. I quarried roots, digging in like my great-grandfather's oxen dragging a crusty plow. A need in my belly, sagas flashing against my back. The stories, my people, crossing a cratered land, a pregnant woman, lanky and twanged, a thick-muscled man, far-sighted, timbered the land, planted seeds, prayed for rain. The soil so rich, so ripe with possibility. So I am the third generation to live here in Athens County, Ohio, but I can trace my people back, well, actually to the 11th hundreds, but in the 1700s, early 1700s, they came to America via Virginia, Henrico County, Virginia, then down into the Carolinas, then Tennessee, then Ohio. So I come by that farming need in myself very truly, and my people did clear land and build homesteads, and that's why I'm able to sit here and be a poet today because of all their sacrifices, and I never want to forget that, or any of mine to forget it either. And passing on this gift of planting and growing food to my children and grandchildren have been a huge part of my life. So that said, it is finally spring here in southeastern Ohio. This rain, the bad of it has been, of course, the flooding and the inconvenience. But the beautiful part of it is it's so green all of a sudden. I mean, really green, and the red bud have just popped out. And so everywhere you look, it's just this glorious, glorious pink purple. And those of you who know redbud know what I'm talking about. And those of you who don't, you need to do some Googling and see one because it's really quite stunning and amazing. And you can make wine and jelly from the redbud blooms, and it's just a marvelous thing that ushers in the spring. And so when I think of that, um, this poem came to me, and it's called The Devil You Say. Tonight, my fickle emotions channel the language of ancestral bones, cleaved from Earth's loamy crust, glacial, limestone on the tongue. May's milk moon spills its creamery across waking meadows, summons spring's drowsy seedlings to rise, the air a honeycomb of flutter and buzz. Clusters of yellow dock yawn into the umbra, their sighs a secret ministry. Next month, fireflies will rouse, distract me with their blink and flee. Coyote will trick the bluebird, honeysuckle will stake its claim. I have seen the sun own this land, sky loosens so much blue, trying to tell a story, a persistent cluster of clouds covering its mouth. When a hiss of something slithers in, I tuck my toes, turn tail, remind myself, for every shadow, there must be light. Now, that's so true, right? And I don't need to say out loud who the snake in the grass is right now, do I? Yep. So just keep that in mind. For every shadow, there is always some light. We saw a bunch of that yesterday. So, not to make things a bummer, but I am nearing the anniversary of my mother's death. And my mother was one of the folks in a nursing home who fell under the lockdown during the pandemic. And so I was not allowed to be with her the last several weeks of her life. And I decided instead of being angry about that, that I needed to find a way to find some beauty in the passing because, you know, death is part of life, and we don't talk enough about that in this country. And so we have fear of it, or we have extreme grief of it. And sure, we miss our loved ones, but there are always new ones coming. And I think part of what's best for me is that I live in a heritage in which we always value our elders, and we have known them well, and we have learned so much from them, and we feel like they are still inside us. And I can't touch the ground in the spring without thinking of my grannies and my mama. So there you go. They're still here. So I wrote this poem in honor of my mama. Rare birds. Today, I paid a man to plant a tree in honor of my mother. Compelled by sentiment and the idea of restoration as an habitat for rare Kirkland warblers who are picky, require jack pines rooted in grayling soil, sand. My mother was a rare bird, colorful, flighty, could trill a rich, clear aria. She never left the house without her signature red lips and cold eyelids in some form of feather-crested frock. Given the chance, she too would have wintered in the Bahamas. Side-eyed, she would scoff at hard-earned cash spent to hire a man to plant a tree, in sand no less. In the next breath, insist on hiring a woman to nurture its growth. One day, soft breezes will fluff her slender branches, her ruffled needles thrumming a chorus of hatchling lullabies. The land, the woods, the preek, pruck, purr of all wild creatures, mist purling the pines. So that's in honor of my mama. So I did want to read one that is published by One Art. And I want to say, Mark, thank you so much. You've published many of my poems, and I appreciate that so much. And just one little hint here, for those of you who don't know, Mjolnir is Thor's hammer, and I may not even be saying that quite right, but so when I get there, you'll know what the heck I'm talking about. And this is a history of fireworks. It's July 1st. Whose idea it was to wait, I can't remember, but me, my son, and two granddaughters, 9 and 10, are at the fireworks warehouse, along with scads of other pyromaniacs, sorting out scenarios for night sky panoramas, shelves heaped to the ceiling with firepower. I do my best to maneuver the cart. My son considers tube launchers, skyrockets, mortars. A particularly hardy woman standing her ground near the Roman candles cackles. These flaming swords are the bomb. It's my third trip back. My kids love 'em. Flaming swords? I envision Star Wars or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. ER visits, burn salve at best. But when I mention what I overheard, my son says, awesome. I pick up a petite pink sword, offer it to my sweet baby girls. The first says, I want that black sword. The second looks up at the top shelf, stacked to the hilt with Thor's hammer lookalikes, says, I want one of those conch busters. Night of, dusk closing in, the sword tip is lit. Sparks fly, a fountain of reds, greens, and golds. My grandgirl lunges and parries. The ground dog darts in and out of sparks. Barks, oohs and ahs abound. Applause, applause. Then comes the hammer. Held high and fierce for a few magnificent seconds, sparks fly, the dog dances, then silence, and a wee sputtering flame. We scratch our heads, grumble, give in to lost cause. But my warrior girl persists. Mjolnir held aloft, double gripped, feet planted firm and wide, shouts her warrior oath. Then all hell breaks loose. Flames shoot, whistles whine, colorful spears escape containment. We clap and hoot, amazed at the splendor, each of us sporting bits of confetti and soot. The expression on our faces hilarious. My granddaughter's the best faced of all, agog in the wonder of her power. I love that poem. This is a true story. It really is a true story. And I have a picture. I caught the picture of my granddaughter's face as she was standing there holding this amazing fountain of color. It was just a day to remember. So I'm just going to leave you with one last poem. And I want to thank you again, Mark, and everybody here today and everybody who listened later online. And remember to support One Art because Mark and Louisa do so much to support all of us. So this is Until I Go Yonder. Let the Queen Anne's lace and the milkweed grow, life along the hedgerow. Tag the green rising hillsides, every blossom a fragrant of prayer. Pygmy petals softly flossed, tossed windward like pin feathers of wood thrush, a few molting under my bare feet as I climb. Mind the roots, rocks and creek beds who can never keep still at their song. And fixed stars, transparent in the tryst of day, full vigor come dusk. My past is painted in coal, struggles for endurance, sanctity of the covenants. Laundry hung to dry, the garden tended, feeding time according to the rhythm of the blood. All of it familiar to me as my own bones. My withered face no longer blooms velvet like a lamb's ear. I can't stop making lists, as if penciled predilections might somehow explain what it means to be from here. Scratching the earth for a living, the sweet grass shorn close every year to preserve the clover. Thank you all so much.
Wow, thank you, Kari. Always incredible. I especially love that the fireworks poem, uh, which I shared in the chat, A History of Fireworks, which I remain over the moon to have published in One Art. And I really do think, could be the new Star Spangled Banner. I think it might be an improvement. I'm just putting it out there, in case, future politicians want to consider that change. It would make me personally happy. So that was a wonderful reading. Thank you, Carrie. Next up, we have Chad Frame. Chad is the director of the Montgomery County Poet Laureate Program and Poet Laureate Emeritus of the uh, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania program. He's also a poetry editor of, you're going to have to tell me how to say that one, Chad.
Oh, Avonque Siamo.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
New Italian American Writing, a founding member of No River Twice Poetry Improv Performance Troupe, which is a collection of really, really amazing poets that happen to be local to me. So very cool. Um, so yes, the No River Twice Poetry Improv Performance Troupe, and founder of the Cesura Poetry Festival and Retreat. Chad is author of the poetry collection Little Black Book, and poems of his have appeared in Rattle, Mameg Review, Philadelphia Stories, Barrel House, Rust and Moth, as well as audio, which I encourage you to listen to from the Library of Congress. Chad, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Um, I've never been good at a lot of preamble, so I'll just mention that I'm going to read from two books and then some new stuff. So here's Little Black Book, which is in soft cover or hardcover, and then Smoking Shelter from Monster Press. So I'll get right into it. There's going to be some language, so, fair warning. Tom. Ninth grade summer. The hot tub's purple light framed the sharpness of your jaw, the angle I'd been studying in trig class all year, instead of the whiteboard. Its muscles flexed when you told me you had a secret. Hot water beating the ridges of your chest, your stomach, lower, into the stilled pool. I have one too, I offered, and you shrugged, raising the perfect concave mystery of each clavicle, as if to tell me, yeah, sure, go ahead. If you'd been paying attention, you could have predicted this. I sending signs, you off on a tangent. You bragged, I fucked Sarah, at the same time I confessed I love you, at the same time the tub jets turned on in a grumbling rush. Maybe you heard me. Maybe you didn't. Your lips were a thin pressed hypotenuse running across your handsome face, and I, because somebody had to say something, muttered, wow, that's awesome, man. You nodded, sending a strand of your dark hair, heavy with water, over your brow. What was yours? You asked, each brown eye a vertex, sharpened with threat, daring me to say it again. I cheated on the trig final, I lied, and you laughed and said, that makes two of us. And your white grin flashed again like nothing at all had changed between us, cheeks dimpling, their radii unsolvable as grief. Claw machine. More to the left, he says, then leans to watch the dangling claw from a better angle, as I guide the stubby joystick, grease slick from unwashed hands, just two coin-fed alley kids fishing for a way to pass the time. Behind the screen, the glass-eyed, cheap, stuffed animals, cotton cord, plead with us for escape. We tune out the rumble crash of our parents' Tuesday night leagues, the shouted fucks when they bowl poorly, and the shouted fucks when they bowl well. Wafting Marlboro plumes braiding midair with the steam from vending machine coffee. Generations of beers staining the ash-strewn carpet a thousand shades of brown. And his eyes, all blue and lit up like pinball bulbs, are watching intently as the claw drops for the rainbow bear, its clumsy seams misstitched and already unraveling. This could be any night in midsummer in middle of nowhere America in the mid-90s. Except it's the one when I decide to tell him how pretty those eyes are, as I dangle the hard-won bear by one misshapen foot, an offering I am destined to find later in the men's room sink, ripped into pieces, scattered like pins, fuck you, faggot, sharpied on its face. And this, I have learned, this is how the heart operates. Just when we think we've got a grip on something, the claw seems rigged to let it go. So that new manuscript has a theme. I don't know if you know. um, but I'll read from Little Black Book a couple things here. And this is like a mix of poems, kind of like that. Some tragic gay icons of old Hollywood and some other things. So I'm gonna read my favorite, which is Richard Pryor slept with Marlon Brando. Pryor's widow confirms. Imagine them. Marlon, all sex and smooth-bodied, claims a bar stool, calls for Stella, Artois in its slim-necked and foam-shawled flute. Dressed down between shoots, the white wife-beater hugging broad swaths of long-labored muscle. Richard is hunched 3 stools down, nursing gin, his tawny lips wet with juniper tang, the folded blue brim of a baseball cap shading his face, drumming spindly fingers on the polished bar, noting where they stick. Marlin glides over with the easy grace of predatory fish, and his rough hand is on Richard's knee, bold yet casual, as if it has always been there, always would be there. Perhaps there are words exchanged. Perhaps some things transcend language. What moves Richard from stiff-backed surprise to stumbling, hand in hand, down a long hotel hallway with Marlin's sandpapery chin brushing the nape of his neck? It doesn't matter. There are no celebrities in the dark, only bodies, pushing, straining to fill the emptiness inside one another as long as they can, as long as the thin, floral-papered walls keep the world at bay. In the years to come, they will think of this, mid-soliloquy, mid-pause for laughter, mid-embrace with a woman they don't love. If somewhere in the credits of their lives, a name stands out, rising, meaning something. And I have a sort of a mini series in this book of handkerchief poems. And if people aren't familiar with Handkerchief Code, it was a sort of a gay subculture in like mostly the 70s, whereby people could communicate through this secret language what they were looking for without having to openly say it. And I just thought it was such an interesting thing how culture adapted to oppression. So, you know, whether it was in the left or the right pocket would tell you something, and what color it was would tell you something. So it was this whole language that people invented via necessity. So, tattered handkerchief, left pocket. Means I'm into childhood trauma. Tell me about the time you skinned your knee. Skin it back and forth, hand cupping gingerly, big wheel idling, alone. Show me on the doll where they cut you, where the base of your pain grows proud from its mound, desperate to root anywhere else. I like to think that loss is more than flesh wounds, more than the people who scrape against our lives, each taking one of our finite lives in their passing. Sorry, finite layers in their passing. And we are docked more than a flap of skin for this lesson, that what bears itself, red and shining to the hungry open air, cannot ever be covered up again. Right pocket. I want to let you lie on top of me, still as sediment, wait for the motion of the earth grinding deep into itself, or the earth spinning like a desk globe slapped over and over by a bored schoolboy, or the earth whipping around its orbit like that same child beating at tetherball, or the earth hurtling through the vast blackness like that child flying, legs up on his bike over asphalt at night, spurred by the thought that the road continues unseen ahead. and that shapes, resolving in their passing, are unable to stop him from putting his feet back on the pedals and pumping. Okay. So here's another. I have a lot of memorial poems. Just, I don't know. I guess I've lost a lot of people in my life. So here's one of them. This is Harvest for Ryan. We shared a few months in the summer dark of your parents' farm, whispering Simpsons quotes, laughing softly like night wind rustling fields of green corn, sticky-lipped from snow cones and exploring one another's bodies. 20 and 24. A field of years sown between us. I, the wise one, been there, done that. You, the one figuring things out. Weeks later, your parents found you in bed, wilted like a failed crop. Haven't been here, I thought. Haven't done this. Now I'm lying in new grass the length of your life later. Now I'm staring at the moon like we did sometimes, resting in between being there and doing that. I still can't figure out how this can possibly be the same moon, same earth, same body. How I can eat corn and taste you lying there, bursting and sweet. And speaking of memorial stuff, so my newest collection is a chapbook about my father's passing. So it's been almost 6 years now. And he was just that I guess it was a very strained relationship as an only child, and he was sort of an alcoholic Vietnam veteran. So I guess that's really all the background you need. The poems can speak for themselves. So, weekend visitation. So, what's it like to kill a man? I ask, 13 and invincible, from the seat next to him in the red truck commuting through the night. All the stars outside, a spray of spilled road salt on asphalt. 3 beers into the drive, 2 years after the divorce, swerving over glowing yellow road lines. Don't ever ask him about Vietnam, my mother warned me. Yet I ask the way I ask him everything, to test him. His response is to grunt and flick a still burning cigarette out the cracked window, a flare of orange sparks like tracer rounds, and reach for the volume knob, twisting it. I turn to watch the embers disappear. Faster. The speakers blare, keep on rockin' in the free world. The dark roads yellow dashed machine guns, still firing and missing us. And this is vaguely chronological, so obviously it moves on in time. This is the title poem, Smoking Shelter. Outside the hospice ward of the VA Medical Center in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Easter, and the glass enclosures clouded like a roomy eye. Old men are smoking, wheezing in their service hats and wheelchairs. We've brought my father's dog. I know it's not a man's dog, he announces, Chihuahua resting on the blue quilt draped on his lap. That's a great dog anyway, says Cecil, his rumbling basso hoarse with settled phlegm. Looks about the right size for a football. We lost our last one. What starts as laughter in both throats turns to rasping, then wet coughs, echoes from a deep well. My father says, I hear come October we're not allowed to smoke here anymore. He looks at me. You'll get me out of here before then, right? But before I can answer, another chair-bound man slowly scoots over to us, tells my father, You look just like Jesus. I guess I can see it. The hair, the beard, the starvation, sallow skin, scroll parchment stretched thinly over wooden finials. You suffer like he did, he continues. But I can't heal you guys, my father says. I wish I could. Another coughing fit. You need something? My mother asks, reaching in her purse. Yeah, he says, wiping his mouth with a trembling hand. An end-it-all pill. I wonder what will be your last pleasure. A parking lot view, a few puffs, warm breeze, smelling second-hand gas station chicken. He is risen, and I realize each thing opens at its own pace. Our hearts, the first spring blooms, church-bound women in yellow hats. That's as close to nature imagery as I get. I always joke I'm a terrible poet because I don't know trees or birds. So I admire anybody who does. And back to my comfort zone, pop culture. Feeding my father pudding while watching Bonanza. All any relationship boils down to is, are you willing to do this for me or aren't you? Haas and tapioca and what remains of your life all balanced precariously on a plastic spoon. Every week, the grown Cartwright boys learn another life lesson from their father, who has seen some things in his day, who knows better. And maybe all death really is gradual unlearning, the pudding crusting in your beard like infants spit up. I have driven 200 miles each day for 2 weeks to be here to watch old shows. Nurses prodding, your chest rising, falling, but these are the distances that matter. Spoon to mouth, screen to face, son to father, father to grave. Your thousand-yard stares fixed vaguely on the wall-arm television where Michael Landon is falling in love with Bonnie Bedelia. And we know, half-century-old spoiler, that Haas dies off-screen because Dan Blocker dies off-screen from botched surgery. But it is enough to know the twangy theme is still playing, galloping into and out of the room, even when the spoon scrapes an empty cup, even when we pull the sheets all the way up. And then this is the closing to this book. Ghost in the Machine. 6 months after you're gone, I'm out driving your red pickup to your house. Both mine now. I feel butch in this. Raised up and revving the V6 in this fortress of old smoke. Your ratty zigzag Mexican blanket draped over the seats. Resin sea turtle staring wide-eyed from its perch on the dash. Brown dreamcatcher swinging from the rear view. I'm thankful to be on country back roads when the truck trundles to 10 miles an hour down from 40 and won't speed up again no matter how hard I stomp the pedal. 2 frustrating miles of this. Hazard lights clicking, my arm out the window waving cars around. Then all at once it speeds up and I'm squealing 60 around a curve with no warning and the brakes won't listen and the horns blaring and cows flicker by in quick chiaroscuro and the trees are just green streaks and the brakes still won't work. And then I stop. Quickly. Or almost stop. Back to my 10-mile handicap, inching forward. And then the speed pattern repeats in sequence. Faster, slower, faster still. I don't believe in ghosts, yet I still shout, "Stop it, Dad!" My eyes wide, my knuckles white on the sticky wheel. Somehow I make it to a dealership and lurch to a halt. Toss the bewildered valet boy the keys, muttering, "I don't know what the hell's wrong, but figure it out." I'm across the street, fork scraping a figure eight and egg yolk on a scratched Denny's plate, when my phone rings. "This is weird." A rough voice, no preamble. It's the mechanic. "You ready for this?" I answer, "Ready as I'm going to be." Back in the shop, he shows me a photo on his phone. A mouse lodged in the throttle. He's dead and wadded up, a dried hairball lodged in an aluminum ring, black streak down his white back where the engine scorched him. "So, when it sped up or slowed down," I prompt. "Yes," he says. "That was the mouse opening the throttle. You're lucky to be alive." "You're telling me," I ask him, "that this mouse was driving my car?" He laughs, the harsh grind of a worn-out clutch. "Pretty much," he says. He shares the photo, an urban legend in the making. "Get a load of this shit," other mechanics say. "What are the odds?" Starting the truck, I think of a photo I remember someone sharing online of a dead pike lodged in a tree, small birds nesting in its jaws. All we need in life is a safe place to gnaw our way into, to curl up for warmth. We're only one chomp, one burning engine, one telephone pole away from dying at any moment. What does it say about me, I wonder, that I would rather believe in your ghost? And then I have something very recent and very topical, and I can't resist having to read it. So this is Guzzle for the Single Issue Voter. They filled in circles. The only thing on their minds, the price of eggs fell. They slept contentedly. Come morning, when they dined, the price of eggs fell. They went to the market, shopped around to find the price of eggs fell. They watched the tickers tick, the numbers signed, the price of eggs fell. They searched their pockets, delighted that by dimes the price of eggs fell. At the cost of neighbors jailed for trumped up crimes, the price of eggs fell. Oh well, they said, it's simply a sign of the times. The price of eggs fell. The day a fist banged on their door, they whined, but the price of eggs fell. They hadn't seen it happen. They'd resigned their rights. Then eggs fell. Remember this the next time you wait in line. The price when eggs fell. And then I have one last short one. I figured since she read one from One Art, I should read one from One Art just, to promote it. So I'll close with this. This is called Shepherd for Matthew Shepard. There on the hill, a scarecrow. No, a boy. Tear tracks through blood and grime. Slumped, arms raised, tied to a buck rail, and left to watch over his flock. When I learn this, I'm just 15, a sophomore, thinking maybe I could just tell someone, a friend, what I'm feeling, grow bold enough to act on it. What is a kiss? The cold pistol our attraction has whipped us with. Matthew, I wish I could show you what you've achieved. A boy, tear tracks through blood and grime. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, Chad. I want to say things that sound kind of like I'm blurbing like a John Grisham book. I'm just like powerful, stunning, disturbing. Uh, but truly, I've wondered for about a decade since, well, I don't know how long I've been aware of your work, but something like a decade, just how it's possible that Chad isn't touring nationally as a reader. Just like such powerful work. Just blown away every time. So thank you. Means a lot to me, and I'm really glad that you read Shepherd, even though that's a very difficult poem. That's definitely a
I know.
standout
I hate to
poem.
I hate to end on such a downer.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, like it's one of them that's just in my mind, as poems that one artist published. It pops to mind often, um, for a lot of reasons, but a historical moment that, obviously we need to keep in mind so as not to repeat. Because yeah, it's really hard to pivot from there, but we're gonna do our best now. And our third and final reader is Amit Majmudar. Amit is a poet, novelist, essayist, and translator, and has just this amazing, so many different constellation of life things that I just get excited. It's amazing that one person has their hand in like so many different things. Okay, poet, novelist, essayist, translator. It works as a diagnostic nuclear radiologist in Westerville, Ohio, where he lives with his wife and three children. His poetry collections include, I feel like I should have asked how to say that one though. Um, I want to say it's meant to be degrees
Yeah,
zero
yeah,
zero.
yeah. 0 degrees, 0 degrees.
Okay, I thought so. 0 degrees, 0 degrees from Northwestern. Heaven and Earth, and he won the Donald Justice Prize for Heaven and Earth. Um, his book Dothead from Knopf, which I can see from here in a pile of books. Um, I have a first edition of that book. And that's actually TSA, which appears in that collection, was my introduction to your work, and
Oh,
is a poem I also distressingly think about all too often. And Amit's also the author of What He Did in Solitary. His poems have won the Pushcart Prize, as well as appeared in Norton Anthology, The New Yorker, which you may have heard of, and numerous Best American Poetry anthologies. He's the author of Black Avatar and Other Essays from Acre Books, which is a collection of essays that focuses on Indian religious philosophy, history, and mythology. His work as a translator includes Godsong, a verse translation of the Bhagavad Gita with extra commentary. He also was invited to put together a political poetry anthology entitled Resistance, Rebellion, Life, 50 Poems Now. And he published a memoir, which I've been meaning to read, called Twin A, which I'd love it if he talked about because it sounds incredible. Another essay collection called The Great Game, and a hybrid work, Three Metamorphoses. And he has a forthcoming poetry collection from Knopf that is Things My Grandmother Said. Without further ado, Amit.
Thanks so much for that introduction, and thanks for being so thorough with it. And One Art is just one of those places. Mark is one of those editors where I feel like if I have something a little bit off kilter, a little bit ambitious, I'm kind of like, I can send it there, and it's going to get a good reading, and it's going to get it has a chance. And I've always valued One Art for that reason, knowing that this is just an incredible editor. And one of the signs of that is that when I was putting together next year's collection, I had all these poems that I published in various places, and I didn't really know what to do with them. And I just kind of sent a bunch of them to the publisher and the editor there. And then, they kind of went through and they were kind of like, why don't we put together poems based on this particular theme? And here's some ones that we like. And so many of those were ones that Mark had picked. And I'm going to be reading some stuff. I'm going to be reading one poem, which is actually not going to be in the collection, but it's one of the more interesting and ambitious ones that appeared in One Art. But I'm first going to start with the title poem from the next year's collection, which is Things My Grandmother Said. And it's literally a collection of things my grandmother said. And so this is the poem. Turmeric can heal anything but a broken heart. I've got some Benadryl I bet could shush that dog of yours. Sounds fun, but what does it pay? You can't shoot the spots without shooting the leopard. If dressmakers' dummies could cook, we'd all be old maids. Poetry. You're grinding water with a pestle of ice. But when you've never thirsted a day in your life, I guess you can play. I know plenty of family history. But don't ask me where green eyes got into the bloodline. India invented recycling. We called it karma. But trash now is trash later. I wasn't crying. I was dicing onions in a memory in Ahmedabad. Every time I stand up, there's Rice Krispies in my knees. This girl is perfect for you. I know her aunt. Read that to me at my funeral, boy. Right now, my show is on. I got to be this old by nibbling a little raw ginger every morning. Ambition's a sinkhole that deepens the more you dump in it, but that doesn't mean don't get a job. In the old days, families were so big, counting nephews felt like counting stars. Every kite forgets its string. Sure, the Ganga is holy, but who told you to drink from it? The next one I'm going to read is another title poem from Dothead, which is the collection that Mark mentioned. And this one takes place in a suburban Ohio high school cafeteria. And there is a mythological reference at the end, which refers to the Shiva Nataraja, who is the who dances the dance of destruction at the end of time in a sphere of fire. And he has a third eye on his forehead. So this is called a dot head. This is called dot head. Well, yes, I said. My mother wears a dot. I know they said third eye in class, but it's not an eye, not like that. It's not some freak third eye that opens on your forehead like on some Chernobyl baby. What it means is, what it's showing is, there's this unseen eye on the inside, and she's marking it. It's how the X that says where treasure's at is not the treasure, but as good as treasure. All right. What I said wasn't half so measured. In fact, I didn't say a thing. Their laughter had made my mouth go dry. Lunch was after world history. That week was India. Myths, caste system, sati, all the greatest hits. The white kids I was sitting with were friends, at least as I defined a friend back then. So wait, said Nick, does your mom wear a dot? I nodded, and I caught a smirk on Todd. She wear it to the shower and to bed? While Jesse sucked his chocolate milk and Brad was getting ready for another stab. I said, "Give me that ketchup packet there." And Nick said, "What?" I snatched it, twitched the tear, and squeezed a dollop on my thumb and worked circles till the red planet entered the house of war. And on my forehead, for the world to see, my third eye burned those schoolboys in their seats, their flesh in little puddles underneath, pale pools where Nataraja cooled his feet. The next poem I want to read is a poem from One Art. It's probably one of the more ambitious poems that I've published recently, but at the same time, it was easy to write because it's actually drawn from history. The story of it is actually a nonfiction story, and it's called Niju Hibakusha, which is the Japanese term for double survivor, meaning there was a small subset of people who survived both atomic blasts. And this is a poem. It's a little bit longer poem, but hopefully you'll stick with me. And it's about a historical figure, a person who really existed, even though that the whole idea of surviving 2 nuclear bomb blasts sounds impossible or just, you know, unrealistic. This actually happened. So this is called Niju Hibakusha. Tsutomu Yamaguchi makes shadow puppets on the wall for his first daughter. Hare, butterfly, dog. Airplane. Sole vestige of the bicycle? The bicycle's negative image branded on the pavement. The rider, too, tattooed there. Twin Dharma wheels, spokes pickled in ink. Tsutomu Yamaguchi survived Hiroshima in a silk skin sleeve and rode a bicycle to report for work 3 days later in Nagasaki. In a wooden house, a cat-shaped blind spot floated across a paper wall. In the nanosecond before the shock wave spot-lit her leap. Heavy water shivered a tea kettle. Locomotive steam incense appeased a valley. Nagasaki whistled, twisting oblivious wisteria into her hair. Black rain, thick as hot tar, pocked constellations onto Tsutomu Yamaguchi's bandages. inverted chart of stars that survived hydrogen fusion. Tsutomu Yamaguchi inks a book of poems years after his hair grows back blacker than the week he watched two earth-born stars crown, blast crater follicles seeded each with the shadows of hairs that grew there once. Tsutomu Yamaguchi feeds his second daughter with a spoon. He makes airplane noises. Outside on the street, a bicycle's thumb bell. Tinnitus calling the kami to come. Uranium, polonium, chrysanthemum. In Hiroshima, after the plane passed overhead, he looked up and seeing a parachute open, mistook in the nanosecond before the blast exposes his flesh like photographic film, little boy, for an American paratrooper. I hoped he would land without breaking his legs, but also that he would be promptly caught. He vomited intestinal mucosa like inside-out snakeskin. Burns, cataracts, if you count the leukemia, a triple survivor. A malignant nucleus divides too wildly, setting off a chain reaction. Tsutomu Yamaguchi vomits black tar once again, his stomach snake sloughing itself, in his granddaughter's house, in a rhyme that hints at the cyclicity of time, the circular reasoning of should we or shouldn't we drop it. Wheel of Dharma, centrifuge of Dharma. Tsutomu Yamaguchi at 5 years old learned to ride a bicycle. Tsutomu Yamaguchi is teaching his granddaughter to ride a bicycle in Nagasaki in early August. The dark urns of the clouds glow with rain. He looks up. Thunder detonates, and a drop of rain targets the back of his hand. And now a second drop. His mother, his grown daughter, his granddaughter calls to him, calls him indoors to a concrete roof and walls of graph paper, inked, tattooed, branded with calculations of yield. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, fishing into all his ages all at once, shuts his eyes with their spoke wheel irises. Come in, grandfather. He sees the black shadow of sight branded long ago on the insides of his eyelids. Come in, son. His eyelids never glow red anymore, not even when he faces the rising sun. Come in from the black rain, father. Your memory has had decades to heal. Wipe the black tar from the corner of your mouth. Peel the snakeskin gauze from your burn. Thank you. This next poem is the opening poem of What He Did in Solitary, which was the collection came out in the blessed year 2020. It kind of as Kari was reading, I kind of thought that I might read this as well because my roots in Ohio go back to the 1970s when my parents came from India, but I grew up in Ohio from the very beginning, and it was kind of like a different type of childhood probably. I felt it's kind of home, but at the same time it's like not home. It's many things at once, and so. This was kind of like my this poem is called The Adventures of Amit Majmudar, and it dovetails with the event like Mark Twain, right? The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and things like that, and the kind of Ohio childhood or country childhood that I might have had, but that I didn't have. And so this is called The Adventures of Amit Majmudar. Never laid a snare for nothing. Never caught a bullfrog. Broke my slingshot wishbone wishing. Never had a smoke. Never clipped a baseball card to thutter in the spokes. My fist clenched an ink pen, and I learned what to think when. And never swore no honest Injun, and never spat, and never struck. Where you gone, Tom? Where you at, Huck? I call myself a man today, though I've never been a boy, and dug for treasure in the woods or lost myself in play, feared dead for 7 days until I showed up by my grave and made a sniffling town rejoice. I could have been a pirate, Mama, at least a Robin Hood, but I was always up to something employable and good. And now I'm down here in this cave, crying to be saved, though I reckon I am stuck. Where you gone, Tom? Where you at, Huck? Mark mentioned TSA. So while I'm here and I have the book right here, I'll give it a spin, as it tends to be a crowd pleaser of a poem, primarily because it kind of sounds, it's fun it has a fun sound to read, and it's pertinent too. And so this was called TSA. Off with the wristwatch, the Reeboks, the belt, my laptop's in a bin. I dig out the keys for my jeans and do my best Midwestern grin. At O'Hare, at Atlanta, at Dallas, Fort Worth, it happens every trip. At LaGuardia, Logan, and Washington Dulles, the customary strip is never enough for a young brown male whose name comes up at random. Lest the randomness of it be doubted, observe how Myrtle's searched in tandem, how Doris's six-pack of Boost has been seized, and Ethel gets the wand. How polite of the screeners to sham paranoia, when what they really want is to pick out the swarthiest, scruffiest of us and pat us top to toe. My fellow Ahmeds and my alien Alis, Muhammad alias Mo, my buddies from med school, my doubles partners, my dark unshaven brothers, whose names overlap with the crazies and god fiends, ourselves the goateed other. And I'll finish with one last poem from the forthcoming collection that also appeared in One Art. It was a poem that they actually, I remember, they singled it out as they really liked it a lot, and it's something I wrote for my wife. And it's about, it reminded me, I think it probably had its origin in that one saying of Rilke's where, love is two people protecting each other's solitude. And so this is called constancy. The best way to be alone is to have someone somewhere in the house, which means for your solitude not to feel lonely, you need someone else to be alone too. By you, my love, I mean me, of course. That goes without saying, which is to say, you and me, forgetting each other sometimes, proves how completely the same empty jam jar holds us. Two fireflies scooped out of the same evening, meeting at a knife hole in the lid to lick the same star. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. That was an amazing reading, Amit. Thank you so much. And thank you for reading poems that were published in One Art. Excited for the forthcoming book. And you've got so many that I need to get to. So one of these days. But I hope everyone will check out more of Amit's books because, as you can see, the poets are incredible. So thank you to all three of you. In a moment, I'm gonna stop the recording.